Welcome, history enthusiasts, to a journey through time as we explore 7 of the most pivotal assassinations that have left an indelible mark on our world. From political leaders to iconic figures, these tragic events have altered the course of nations and societies. Let's dive in. John F. Kennedy, U.S. President 1963. While Kennedy was just one of 4 U.S. presidents to pass away at the hands of an assassin, none were as public or had as much impact on the American psyche as did the demise of the young former senator from Massachusetts. While his demise had only a minor impact on the political course he had set for the country, it can never be denied how profoundly his demise cast a pall over the American people that has in some ways remained to this day. But even more than that, his demise resulted in the creation of the entire cottage industry of conspiracy theories, all of which have done much to stoke the fires of paranoia and cynicism that burned so strongly in this country. Mahatma Gandhi, Indian political activist and spiritual leader, the voice of nonviolence in an increasingly violent world. When the emaciated Indian holy man was gunned down on the streets of New Delhi by a university student turned activist, it was a tremendous blow, not only to India, but to the entire world. His policies of compassion towards the poor and nonviolent resistance served as a blueprint for peaceful change, while his ability to affect both Hindu and Muslim alike made peace of the kind possible in his conflicted nation. The only positive thing that can be said, if such is possible, is that it was fortunate his assailant was a fellow Hindu. Had he been gunned down by a Muslim, it might well have turned the subcontinent into a religious battleground of apocalyptic proportions. Julius Keyser, Emperor of Rome, 44 BCE. While the sort of event that seems more a part of melodrama than real history, the execution of Rome's greatest general and first emperor at the hands of his own senators set the Roman Empire on a course that was to set her on the path of centuries of turmoil and treachery. What Rome might have looked like had he stayed in power is unknown, of course, but it's likely the transition of power in the future would have been a far less messy affair. On the other hand, without Keyser's demise to kickstart a whole sordid chain of events, we would never have the Cleopatra/Mark Antony tryst to entertain us all these centuries. Martin Luther King Jr., civil rights activist. While it's impossible to know how things would have gone for the African community in the late 60s and early 70s had King not been silenced by an assassin, the loss of their chief spokesman was unquestionably a huge blow to the entire civil rights movement. Considered the voice of reason and moderation in a time of increasing strife, his demise opened the door for more militant leaders to rise to the forefront of the movement, often resulting in the radicalization of the African community, and creating deeper divisions than was already evident. Had he lived, it's possible the late 60s and early 70s would have had a much less militant air about it, though that's purely speculative. Alexander II, Russian Alexander Nikolaevich, 1881. While not many people likely know much about Tsar Alexander II of Russia, his demise at the hands of anarchists in March of 1881 changed the course of Russia for the bad. Something of an enlightened monarch and a reformer, he was on the verge of creating a parliament in Russia at the time of his demise, which likely would have led to the country's eventual democratization. Instead, his successors decided to take a more heavy-handed approach, resulting in 30 more years of oppressive and corrupt leadership, and sowing the seeds for the 1917 revolution that would introduce communism to the world, the effects of which we are still feeling today. Abraham Lincoln, U.S. President, 1865. No assassination has had as great an impact on a country than did that of the 16th President of the United States. His demise at the hands of actor-turned-Southern agitator John Wilkes Booth is not only the stuff of legend, but was disastrous to the South as well, who would have fared much better under Lincoln's conciliatory hand in the aftermath of the civil conflict than it did under Andrew Johnson and subsequent administrations. In fact, it could be said that because of Booth's treachery, the civil conflict lasted decades longer, at least in the minds of many Southerners, than would have otherwise, and likely contributed greatly to the oppression of African Americans in the South. As such, in executing Lincoln, Booth may have damaged his beloved South far more than his actions could ever have helped it. Archduke Franz Ferdinand. Heir apparent to Austro-Hungarian throne, it's hard to imagine that the assassination of a fairly obscure nobleman could have huge repercussions, much less be the most important assassination in history. However, the demise of the Archduke and his wife, as they rode in an open car through the streets of Sarajevo, had immediate and profound repercussions. The problem was that the assassin was part of a group that had ties to the Serbian military itself. As such, in a world-class case of overreaction, Austro-Hungary held the Serbian government complicit in the execution and set in motion the wheels of battle, which would in turn start a chain of events that would, over the course of just a few weeks, not only bring the two countries to bellows, but would drag the entire continent into the fray with it. As we reflect on these historic assassinations, we're reminded of the profound impact individuals can have on the course of history, for better or worse. Join us as we delve into the stories, explore the ripple effects, and gain a deeper understanding of the pivotal moments that have shaped our world.